Now we have a paper on Pancharatra Vaishnavism from Primacy to Precarity by Dr. B.C. Anish Krishnan Nayar.
Hari Sarvottama, Vayuchi Uttama. Am I audible? Okay, fine. So, I understand that I am supposed to say a few words in my mother tongue first, and maybe that will be the most challenging part of this, because I speak in mother tongue only with my parents and my siblings, and for all practical purpose I have become a Tamilian. പക്ഷെ എന്തായാലും ഒരു ശ്രമം ചെയ്യണതിൽ തെറ്റൊന്നുമില്ല. വളരെ സന്തോഷമുണ്ട് ഈ വേദികയിൽ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നതിൽ. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ശ്രീരംഗം പോലത്തെ സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇരിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു വിശ്വാസമുണ്ട്. ആദ്യത്തെ കാര്യം എന്തായിരുന്നാലും ശ്രീഹരിയുടേതായിരിക്കട്ടെ. സോ അങ്ങനെ നോക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഒരു ക്ഷേത്രാടനം ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റി. പിന്നെ ഒരുപാട് സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെയും സഹൃദയന്മാരെയും കാണാൻ പറ്റി. അത് ഇനിയൊരു വളരെ ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ആയ കാര്യമാണ്. With that, I don't know how many of you got it, but what I said was that I'm very happy to be here for two reasons. Because our belief is that whatever we do, let the worship of Sri Hari take primacy. And making use of this conference as an opportunity, I could visit a few temples, number one, and I was able to meet a few Sahridayas, some of my friends, some of my acquaintances and whatnot. So that is it. Coming to my paper, my paper is on Pancharatra system of Vaishnavism, and I believe that there are some 3 or 4 papers which look into various aspects of Pancharatra system. And what I try to do is I want to praise the history of Pancharatra, especially through the polemical works, and give you an idea of the primacy of Pancharatra, number one. And then I want to point out what is the current situation, what are the challenges faced by that system now, from various points. So this is it. I'm very sure that the term Vaishnavism, the connotations that you have in your mind is Ramanuja Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, Chaitanya Sampradaya, Gaudiya and all those things. And although Pancharatra is not a very new word, many of us don't connect Pancharatra with Vaishnavism. Many of us don't think that it is a school of Vaishnavism. So the practice that Pancharatra is a sort of a proto-Vaishnavism. The framework for may it be Ramanuja Sampradaya or Madhva Sampradaya or for Gaudiya Vaishnavism, even for sects like that of Swami Narayan, the basic framework was provided by Pancharatra. That is one of the oldest surviving school of Vaishnavism, which still has a very, very tangible relevance. And let me be very brief, because I have to say a lot of things and I don't know how I'm going to truncate all those things within this 15 minutes. So what I've done is I have listed a few references to Pancharatra and certain holy texts, just to give you some sort of an orientation. Satapatha Brahmana, it is there. In Upanishad, there are references. Then Mahabharata, it is another main thing. Brahma Sutra, we are going to talk about it. And Valmiki Ramayana, which is a pramana for many of other sects, even in Valmiki Ramayana, we have at least one verse in certain, certain variations of the text, which have a reference to Pancharatra system. Then, let me begin with this. Don't worry about the big, closely packed quotation, all those things. I will just summarize it. See, when you look into the history of Pancharatra in sources, I gave you certain positive references. Beyond that, we find Pancharatra being condemned by many schools. And if I am not wrong, the issue started with the Mimamsika system. And in Kumarila Bhatta, we see Kumarila Bhatta has classified Pancharatra among the Avaidik or non-Vedic systems. Then Brahma Sutra is there. In Brahma Sutra, there is a specific reference to Pancharatra system. Like that, there is a reference to Pasubhata. They make a reference. Veda Vyasa has made a reference to Pancharatra also. And the first major commentator of Brahma Sutra, or the earliest available commentary of Brahma Sutra, is that by Adi Shankara. And Adi Shankara deals with this thing, and Adi Shankara thinks that, his view is that Veda Vyasa has condemned Pancharatra. And what he says is, he says with a lot of, disclaimers. So he doesn't just start attacking Pancharatra. Instead, he says that we accept certain practices of Pancharatra. We accept the theology of Pancharatra to a certain extent. In spite of that, I find certain problematic aspects in Pancharatra. That's how he begins. So, unlike with any other schools, his interpretation of those sutras comes with a lot of riders and disclaimers. And after taking that soft approach, he begins his attack. He says that to begin with, the theory of creation put forward by Pancharatra, especially the Jiva Utpatti aspect, has to be condemned. See, in Pancharatra we have the Vyuha idea, Sangarshana Pratyumna, Vasudeva Aniruddha. And Pancharatra ahamic texts, they repeatedly say from who came whom and all those things, which it is almost like an avatar. But however, Adi Shankara sees that it is almost Jiva Utpatti. And the general belief or the settled notions among various schools of Hinduism is that soul cannot be, the Atma cannot be created or destroyed. And he says, since this Jiva Utpatti aspect is there, we condemn it. And the second thing is that, like with any other ahamic systems, may it be Saivahama or Vaikanasa, whatever it is, in Pancharatra texts also, they say that Pancharatra is greater than Vedas. For example, Sandilya says that, even after studying Vedas, as I was not able to get peace in mind, I requested or prayed, and as a result of that, Pancharatra was revealed to me, and through Pancharatra, I could get my salvation. Adi Shankara notes this and says that since the system claims to be superior than Vedas, it is Avaidik. This is a summary, very crisp summary of what Adi Shankara says through many words while commenting these things. And why did I bring this issue in this paper? Because I find that through this commentary of these Shudras by Adi Shankara, we can infer a lot of things. The first and foremost thing is the prominence of Pancharatra school. See, if it has to be included in Brahma Sutra, it should have been a very prominent school. Else they wouldn't have done that. For example, until Madhvacharya, we see no commentator talking about Shakta system. Only in Madhvacharya, we see a condemnation of Shakta school of, theology. Until then, it is either Pashuvada and Pancharatra. Either you will be opposing it or you will be supporting it. Nothing more than that. So, presence of Pancharatra in Brahma Sutra itself is an example or is a very strong illustration of the prominence of the school. Number one. Number two, how Shankara approaches Pancharatra in spite of condemning it. He is very sympathetic to it to a certain extent. He doesn't outrightly dismisses it. Instead, he says that we accept certain aspects, we accept your theology, we accept your practices like going to temple, but in spite of that, that is how he begins it. This disclaimer is very important. This disclaimer suggests that Pancharatra had very large following, and it was held in very high esteem even during the days of Shankara. So we have to keep something else in mind. In Pashuvada Adhikarana, Pashuvada is almost like Pancharatra, but for the differences in theology. It is also basically a sort of ahimic sort of school, Theo-centered school. But when Shankara is criticizing Pashuvada, he is not this soft. He is not this sympathetic. He is to the point. But in Pancharatra, it is not like that. So that sort of, even Adi Shankara, we can see to certain extent some sort of bias in favor of Pancharatra, and that is something which you have to keep in our mind. And the other thing is that through the commentary of both Kumarila Bhatta and Adi Shankara, we can see the traces of proto-Vaishnavism in Pancharatra. For example, practices of Vaishnavites going to various temples, the Kshetrarana and Thirtha, it has been recorded, and that is a ever-living tradition, right? So even now we see the idea of Divya Deshas, the idea of Vaishnavis moving from one temple to another temple, and a life in Kshetrarana, life in Thirtharana, all those things are even it is a sort of a historically continuing practice. So these are some elements which I want to highlight through this adverse commentary. Then this I have dealt with while I am explaining the previous slide. Then implications. Further, we can see that as a result of the sympathy of Shankara, there was certain implications to the school of Pancharatra. First and foremost thing is that there were a few unsuccessful attempts of synthesis. A few Pancharatra handbooks tried to incorporate, let me make it very clear once again, not Pancharatra Samhitas. Pancharatra handbooks, both are different. Samhitas are revealed texts, revelations, whereas handbooks are more or less like your practical guide. Someone would be compiling it for their day-to-day practices. A few handbooks, they tried to synthesis or they tried to harmonize this Advaita system with Pancharatra. And recently, some 4 or 5 years back, the Indo-French Institute, Pondicherry, they published certain early Vaishnava Ahamas. Manuscripts were found from Nepal as old as 956 or 1000 CE. And in that we see certain references to Advaita and certain attempts to harmonize Advaita and Pancharatra. Number one, and even among commentators, a few sub-commentators of Shankara, they thought that, or they expressed the view that Pancharatra need not Shankara need not have contempt Pancharatra. That was the. And in modern scholarship, we find scholars such as S.R. Bhatt doing the same thing. S.R. Bhatt has written a very thin volume talking about influence of Advaita and Pancharatra. But all these attempts were unsuccessful. Unsuccessful because Shankara himself has made it very clear that he doesn't consider Pancharatra to be a Vedic system. But I wanted to say this, I wanted to show this history of harmonization because I wanted to communicate that in the last 1000 years, at least in the last 1000 years, even Advaitins have thought that there is a necessity to incorporate or appropriate Pancharatra to a certain extent because that was a very central tenet and that had a very huge following. Then after that we have Jayanta Bhatta. Jayanta Bhatta is a very interesting character. So I'm not very sure about the dates of Shankara. That's why chronologically I could have even put Jayanta Bhatta earlier. But all those confusions are there. These dates are not very clear, at least in my perspective. So I have put Jayanta Bhatta after Shankara. Jayanta Bhatta is from Kashmir and he is known for two major works. One is his Nyaya Manjari and the second one is his drama, Ahama Dambana. And in Nyaya Manjari, Jayanta Bhatta, who is a Purva Mimamsika, was the first one to claim that Pashupata system and Pancharatra system, they are authentic to a certain extent. Let them be authentic. They are not Vama Marga. And this Ahama Dambana, the entire drama is based on various Ahamic systems. And Ahama Dambana is a very important literary text because it gives us a cross section of the views of people some 1200 years back on Ahamas. So he makes fun of Pancharatra and to the dialogues of his characters, he says what is the general belief of the people. For example, he says that Pancharatrians are people who pretend to be Brahmins. They don't know Vedic hymns. Like that the characters speak. Right? But anyway, Jayanta Bhatta did a very good job in upholding the authority of Pancharatra and there was a political reason. The political reason was that Jayanta Bhatta was patronized by a king who was a Pashupatin, but his wife was a supporter of Pancharatra. And in Ahama Dambana, that is very interesting. That is very interesting, isn't it? Right? So Jayanta Bhatta had not only the necessity to appease his patron, but also his patron's wife. Right? So, okay. Yeah. Maybe another patron or who is more powerful than the patron, we don't know. But two things. Number one is that such belief systems existed. The king might support Saiva, the queen will support the Vaishnava. That was that. And Jayanta Bhatta has documented it in his play. He has said, see what to do. These people are like this. But however, our queen supports them. Like this, the character speaks. So let us not make a big issue out of that. So in Jayanta Bhatta, we see that. And the important thing is that in this thing, we have references to Pancharatra, we have references to Saiva Hama, we have references to the Nyaya system, the Mimamsika system, and Buddhism, The two types of Buddhism, two types of Jainism, everything is documented here. And even certain extinct systems, like a system of people who used to wear blue cloths and certain Vama markis, all those things are represented. And Pancharatra has found a very prominent place here. See, this is a play where we cannot even find any reference, one reference about Advaita. But in Pancharatra, we have found some references. And the prominence is there, 10 minutes. Okay. I have to complete it within another 4 minutes. 6 or 7 minutes. Okay. So we'll have a bargain. Right? So we have that aspect is very much there. Right? So once again, that is another example of the social, perspective about Pancharatra. Then we have Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya is very important figure when talking about Pancharatra, because Yamunacharya was the first person to produce a systematic defense of Pancharatra system. And he had Kashmir connections. He had Kashmir connections through his predecessor Nada Muni. And see, in his defense, I'll very shortly summarize. First, talking about questions about the Brahminhood of Pancharatra Archakas, he gives a very simple answer. If you have Gotra, Shudra and Veda, you have Brahmin. There is no necessity to think beyond that. Then Sandilya's statement, he says that such Arthavadas are very common everywhere. Even in Purana it is there. Even when talk about Vyasa, Veda, Vyasa, he says that even after Veda had to create Puranas and all those things. So that need not be a reason to dismiss Pancharatra. Then Pancharatra Diksha, because the Vedic Mimamsikas were against it. They said that after Upanayana, what is the necessity of Pancharatra Diksha? He says that there is a necessity, because before doing a Somayaha, you take a separate Diksha. Then why not here, this is. Brahma Sutra, he points out that Veda Vyasa is the author of Brahma Sutra. And he has upheld Pancharatra and Mahabharata. Then why should he condemn it? So Veda Vyasa's Hridaya should be with Pancharatra, and any interpretation against it would be wrong. Then he says that Pancharatra Archakas are not Devalagas. Devalagas are people who had priesthood as their profession, and that was one of the major charge against Pancharatra Archakas. He says it's not like that. Maybe one or two people might have taken that due to very extreme times, but Pancharatra Archakas do this job of priesthood as a part of their religious belief and not for money. And consuming Naivedya is yet another problem. The Mimamsika used to condemn it because the Pancharatras and Pancharatra Vaishnava consume the Naivedya that is offered to Srihari, and that is considered to be a prohibited practice. And he says, he gives a two-folded reply. First thing is that he says, if you think that Srihari is not there, the Lord is not there in the Pratima, why do you worry about this? The Naivedya, the food offering is not going to be polluted because nobody is there. You can consume it. Or even if you consume, after thinking that Srihari is there is nothing wrong. He says that in Somayaha, you drink the Somarasa, which is the Ramananda, what is offered to the Devas. Then why not consume a prasada that has been offered to Srihari? That is it. And Ahama Pramanya was a very major precedent. It provided a very strong blueprint to Ramanuja while interpreting Brahma Sutra, and also in crafting his own system. And it influenced a lot of other polemicists. And the major thing is that Ahama Pramanya removed the dichotomy between this Vedic system versus Ahamic system. He established that Pancharatra is not against Veda. Pancharatra goes hand in hand with Veda, but it is not the dichotomy, perceived, ill-perceived dichotomy was not there, was there. Then we have Ramanuja. I'm speaking a bit fast because he is looking at me and the minutes are flying away. Okay. And Ramanuja's interpretation, the Sribhashya, we find that Ramanuja interprets, he was the first commentator of Brahma Sutra to interpret the Sutras in favor of Pancharatra. And his interpretations are very strongly influenced by Yamunacharya. And once again, this is about the, scholarly tradition. Coming to the practice or the practice tradition, the Pancha Samskara, the 5 aspects of Diksha among Ramanuja Vaishnavis, the Ashtaksha Mandra, Dabda Mudra Dharana, and Charama Sloha, Dvayam, and all those things, they have their roots in Pancharatra system. I'll give you an information. Almost all the Simhasana Vadivadis, or the religious heads appointed by Ramanuja, they have a Narasimha icon with them. And that is very relevant because in Pancharatra Diksha, Narasimha is usually invoked before giving Pancharatra Diksha to do away with the past sins of the receiver. So that system reflects in many aspects. And Dabdamutra Dharana was first legitimized by Ramanuja. Until then, Dabdamutra Dharana, the practice of branding oneself with hot conch and wheel, chakra and shanga, is considered to be Avaidik. Ramanuja was the first person to do that and the first person to authenticate it, and so is the case with Prabhati. Ramanuja's inclusive theology of bringing in, system of bringing in people from all caste, creed and gender has its roots, very strong roots in Pancharatra. Many people misunderstand that Ramanuja is a sort of a social reformer who spoke against the system. It's not like that. He is a person who followed the system properly. He is the person who legitimized the system which was always there. Not that he made any novel interpretations. And Madhvacharya, in Madhvacharya is a Tattvavada. He considers Pancharatra text to be one among the revealed scriptures. He quotes exhaustively from Pancharatra text, and he has been problematized for that because many of those texts were not, they were not able to trace it. And Dattamatta Dharana once again has a very prime position in the Madhva Siddhanta. See, even Ramanujas, they have take this Dattamatta Dharana once in their life. For a Madhva, he is supposed to take once in every year. This is a further legitimization and the further primacy of the system. And inclusiveness is very much there as in Ramanuja's system. And further, the thing is that in today morning session, one of the guest speakers are talking about how this Devarandra Bhajana was prohibited in Ramanuja's system. And I have nothing against it. And I don't accept the interpretation of what he said about Ganapati being, Bhagavatam and all those things, because the teachers of Ramanuja school they have interpreted it in another way. But in the Madhva system, we see Pancharatra in its pristine form because Madhva worship all deities. Skanda, Ganapati, everybody is there. Because in the early Pancharatra, the proto-text that is always there. And Vedanta Desika, once again, yet another major commentator who has done a wonderful work through Ahamaraksha. Yamuna, he follows the footsteps of Yamunacharya and Ramanuja. And the thing is, I spoke of this 2 minutes, right? I spoke of Ahamaraksha. I am speaking of Ahamaraksha because it shows the necessity to defend Pancharatra was always there. 2 major things was there. The first thing is, he harmonizes between Vaiganasa system and the Pancharatra system in his Ahamaraksha. The second thing is that we find through Ahamaraksha that even during the days of Vedanta Desika, major texts of Pancharatra were almost lost. And as a result of that, he suggested that the Pancharatra Archakas can follow the Griha Sutras. And Tantra Suddha, I am just moving in. I am not going to, because the time is up, I am not going to delve into it. Within 2 minutes, let me wind it up. And talking about the challenges or problems faced by Pancharatra, I say that Pancharatra is caught in a Padma Viha, within an 8-petaled lotus. The first thing is that right from the beginning, the negation has been there from Purva Mimamsika sides and even from the side of Advaitis. So they have, they had to manage that. The second thing is the Smriti issues. So whatever happened during the days of Purva Mimamsika, even after the, almost extinction of Purva Mimamsika, the same sentiment reflected in Smriti, especially against Dattamatta Dharana, Naivedya and many other issues. And the third thing is appropriation. Pancharatra systems, rituals were appropriated. And the theology or the philosophy was removed. Because in Kerala, we find a lot of Vishnu temples where they use mantras and procedures and mudras from Pancharatra, but they deny that it is from Pancharatra. Any student of Kerala system and Pancharatra can understand it. And S.A. Sharma has written a number of wonderful papers on that. Annihilation. See, there were a lot of attacks by alien powers over temple. And whenever a temple is attacked, the first person in the line of fire is the Archaka. He will be caught, he will be tortured, he will be harassed to get hold of the wealth of the temple. And if possible, he will be forcibly converted to make an example out of him. So this led to death of Pancharatras throughout South India and even North India. See, the Kashmir people and Nepal people, we don't find them now because the number is very low because of this. And in South India, many valuable texts were lost and the number of Pancharatras has dwindled to 1,000, few thousands now. And marginalization. See, in issues like Vadahalai Tenkale problem. Vadahalai and Tenkale are 2 schools within Ramanuja's Vaishnavism. This Pancharatra Archakas were caught in between. I'll give you one example. In Srirangam, we are in Srirangam. Srirangam case is there, which we call as 1 rupee case, which took place because 100 years. What happened was that Srirangam temple is governed by the Tenkale Sampradaya. The Archaka is supposed to be Vadahalai. See, the Pancharatra Archakas don't have any Sampradaya, but due to their caste mark, the thing they were in the head, they were conceived to be Vadahalai. And in Tenkale, they do only 1 pradakshina, circumambulation, 1 namaskara. One prostration. In Vadahalai, they are supposed to do more than that, 4. So, what happened is that the Archaka, he did 4 prostration to the deity. And the trustees who belong to the Tenkale sect, they filed, they took action on him they imposed a fine of 1 rupee and they tried to suspend him. This case had to go up to the High Court to be settled. See, he is an Archaha. He has nothing to, because he predates all those things. See, this may be funny. I'm not against it, because only when you are that much proactive, you can keep your temple intact. So it's not that, let us not look into this minor things. All minor things should be reckoned. But what I want to say is that the Archakas who are no way connected to all these things, they were caught in between. And pressure were given to them. And it continues even now. If the system, the problem issues, vice versa is also there. If the Archaka is Tenkale and the Varahale people are trustees, the problem is also there. That is there. Then reduction during the colonial scholarship that focused on formless, deity without form, Nirguna Brahma. See, talk about all those reformers and even Vivekananda, all those things, they wanted to project Advaita as the central tenet or some sort of formless worship as the central tenet, because they had colonial influences which said that worshipping an image is wrong. And as a result of that, most of the thinkers have not talked much about the Ahamic system. That issue had also had its impact on Pancharatra. Then reformation and misinterpretation. People thought that Ramanuja was a sort of a reformer, and with this misinterpretation they wanted to make everyone as Archakas and all those things, and these ideas question the livelihood and the religious freedom of Pancharatra Archakas. And inclusive policies, for example, appointing non-traditional or non-traditional Archakas is considered to be an inclusive policy which should strengthen Hinduism. See, even the Hindutva right-wing people, they are for it. So, Archakaship need not come as a heritage. It need not come as a through family. Let it be. Let new people be trained and given. But the problem is that, see, these Pancharatra Archakas, they have sacrificed their life for 1,000 years. They have been marginalized again and again. Once upon a time, they were marginalized with the name that they are not Brahmins at all. They were harassed. Then they were harassed by the invaders. Then they were harassed in Sampradaya issues. Now they are harassed by both the people in the left and people in the right, in terms of social revolution and whatnot. So these 8 challenges are major challenges. And there is a gazette notification by Tamil Nadu, which was later challenged in the Supreme Court, Adisaiva Archakas versus Tamil Nadu government. And that gazette notification, they say that in Pancharatra temples, anyone can become Archaka. Because Ramanuja has said that there is no caste or creed. Gentlemen, Ramanuja in his commentary on Brahma Sutra, Apasutra Adhikarana, the Adhikarana that deals with the Pseudo Sutra, very clearly says that the Varna is by birth. And once again, when he condemns the Pasupata system, he condemns the Pasupata by saying that Pasupatas are trying to change Varnas by giving 1 ayana to everybody. So that was not the stance of Ramanuja. And Ramanuja, who had such a great fan following, he never tried to meddle with the temple rituals. Pancharatra Archakas were there before Ramanuja, they were in the time of Ramanuja, they are here. Even after the Ramanuja or Desiga or Manavala Mamunigal did not disturb the Archakas. But now, our government, may it be the government that follows the right ideology, or may it be the government that follows some other reformative ideology, they try to impose their ideas of political correctness and impose the ideas of unification of Hinduism in the name of Ramanuja and Vaishnava temple. And one example is this, government order. The Pancharatra system, which was very inclusive system, which was the first system to give authority for a Shudra to chant mantra, which was the first system to give authority to a Mlecha to say the name of God, which was the first system to give Diksha to women, which was very inclusive, is now being put on periphery in the name of new inclusion. Historically, it is the most inclusive system. So it is extermination in the name of inclusion. What to do? The first and foremost thing is that the policymakers, may it be right or left, especially the people in the right, because they can do more damage, they should be educated about the history of Pancharatra. And the second thing is that Pancharatra Archakas should be protected. See, tribal people have special rights. Native Indians have special rights. Throughout US, many states have enacted laws against casinos and all those things. But even in a state where casino is prohibited, if the casino is located in the tribal land, they cannot do anything. Native Indians land, they cannot do anything. Special rights are given to Native Indians. Special rights are given to people who live in, tribal people who live in forests. Similarly, Pancharatra Archakas, sacrifice should be taken into consideration and special rights should be given to them. They should be declared as a denomination. The temple should be declared as a denomination temple. And only such a constitutional remedy will save the system from complete extermination. Thank you, that's it.
I'm sure, definitely, Abhinav,
Namaste. That was a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much. I have one specific question regarding the hagiography of Ramanujacharya. So when we are told about the hagiography of Ramanujacharya, there is one interesting, I don't know if you can call it a legend or a katha. Maybe let's call it katha for now, defining it later. So they're saying that Acharya Ramanujacharya was at one point of time in Puri. So there in the Jagannatha Puri Mandira, so when he was there, they say that he, I don't know, I'm not sure about the exact origins of this katha. They're saying that he attempted to change the Aradhana Krama there in the temple, and eventually when he slept, along with the cot, he was taken out of the city limits and placed somewhere far away from the temple. So you said that he never attempted to change the Aradhana Krama anywhere, or at least any kind of tradition. That seems to go counter to this specific katha. Please explain.
Well, that is a very interesting question from a practicing Sri Vaishnava. I am not, Anyway, the thing is that let us not go to Puri and all those things. Even in Srirangam, there is a tradition that says that the temple was in Vaishnavism system and it was Ramanuja who brought it back to Pancharatra. But the same historians or the leftist historians who say this, they forget the point that Vaishnavism came only during the time of what we call as Yatra Kalabam. There was a sort of military action by the people from Orissa, rulers from Orissa, and before that there was Pancharatra. Keep something in your mind. In many temples, it was Pancharatra Archaras who were replaced because many orthodox people from other sampradayas thought that they were non-Brahmins, and consequently they refused to take prasada from those Archaras. And Vaishnavisas, in spite of Vaishnavisas they had faced their trials and tribulation. Maybe I should write a paper on that. In spite of that, their Brahmanhood was not questioned because they said that they use only Vedic mantras. And so I would say that Ramanuja never tried to interfere, but what he said to try to do was set things right. Because he being an influential person, he had a voice in it. And that's what I think. Yeah, please.
Told about the person of where Ramanuja tried to bring it and the local Nambudhiris rebelled, and still the other Tantrika system prevails there.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments?
What I would say is that Ramanuja has succeeded at least in parts. Currently, there is a Periyanambi and Chiriyanambi. Periyanambi is the big priest and Chiriyanambi is the, assistant priest. Among them, if one priest follows the Kerala Tantric system, which is nothing but veiled Pancharatra, the other priest should be a Pancharatrin. See, among the two priests, one is a person who follows the Kerala system and the other priest is someone who is from Pancharatra. They take turns. If the Pancharatra Bhatta is doing puja on one day, then for 6 months, then for another 6 months, the Kerala Nambudiri would do. And currently, the Pancharatra Bhattas are from the Tulu Brahmin, Tulu Madhva Brahmin sects of it. So, Ramanuja's attempt in case of Thiruvananthapuram, I don't know when it was rectified because we don't have much things, but he has succeeded at least in partly. That I would like to say. See, Ahama doesn't allow any such rotations. But at least they had to give prominence to Pancharatra, which was the system, and which is the system even the Nambudhiris use to formulate their rituals. The Ahamas never allow. They call that as Tantra Sangraha, mixing of procedures, and which should be avoided. And Yatra is one of the Hindutwas who believe that Pancharatra Diksha can be given to anyone and everyone can be made into Archakas. It's not like that. One point which I missed, Pancharatra Diksha, you can take it for your personal worship, but for the temple worship, only Pancharatrins, Adi Pancharatrins, they are supposed to do it. That's it. Yeah.
Give him the mic.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Nayar says. In Trivandrum, they are following a tantric system called Parasurama Samhita. It says, okay, because with the help of my Facebook friend, I got that Puja Pattadi. I compared with the Pancharatra literature. Both are same. Actually, they are doing what is in the Parasurama Samhita. That is one thing. Second thing, in Puri Jagannatha temple, 100% of the rituals, it is codified by Pancharatra system only. Even though the puja is carried out by the Advaitis.
Thank you so much for all this, and I didn't know much about it, and this will definitely help me to further explore. Just quick question. On the remedy part, you suggested constitutional provisions and etc. We have seen in all these years, constitution is more of a part of the problem than the solution. So what you think can be done beyond constitution? What can be done without even looking at that? Because we almost have, lost hope from that side. How we fix things with or without constitutional amendments?
Yeah, as long as India is a constitutional state, and India should be a constitutional state, I have no difference of opinion there. Any solution should be generated on that side, because either you have to do that, or what you have to do is you have to remove religion from one of the things that is governed by constitution. Either there should be a constitutional solution, or there should be exclusion of things connected to religion from constitution, the right that most of the minorities enjoy. This is either one way or other way. Beyond this binary, I don't have any solutions at this point of time.